Loyalty, what does it really mean? Most people think loyalty is about kind words, shared laughs, and spending time together. They just assume if someone seems friendly or supportive, that means they're loyal. But here's the truth, that someone like Mavelli, the strategist, knew deeply loyalty isn't given, it's tested, and not in a comfortable way. Loyalty gets exposed when things get tough, when it actually costs something. Most people don't test loyalty because it's uncomfortable, even scary. It's easier to believe in loyalty than to really check if it's there. But if you want to build anything meaningful, whether it's a business, a brand, or even your circle of friends, you've got to stop guessing and start testing. Because a lot of people around you aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to what they get from being near you, your status, your attention, your power, and the moment that benefit disappears, so do they. That's why Mavelli's approach was different. He didn't rely on words or pretty gestures. He created tests, small, quiet, clever disruptions, meant to reveal who's really with you and who's just pretending. You don't ask someone if they're loyal, you put them in a situation where loyalty costs them something. That's when you see the real faces behind the masks. Here's the first test. Pull back your spotlight for a while. Stop praising them. Stop highlighting their wins. Stop giving them the attention that feeds their sense of importance. Just pause it, or look closely at what happens next. Do they stay close, reach out, or do they drift away, get bitter, or start cozying up to others? People who disappear when you withdraw your attention, they were never with you. They were with how you made them feel. They were hooked on the ego boost you supplied, not on you as a person. Real loyalty doesn't depend on applause or praise. Genuine allies don't vanish when the cheers stop. They lean in, they check on you, they hold their ground. The fake ones, they evaporate. Or worse, they find someone else to orbit a version of you that gives them what they want, more conveniently. If that happens, don't panic. You didn't lose someone, you just revealed the truth. Next. The second test is a bit more subtle, but just as telling. Talk about a big change coming up in your life. It could be a risky business move, or a new direction you're thinking of taking. Then, just see how people react. Are they supportive, encouraging, or do they become cautious, maybe even critical? Do they offer so-called advice that actually sounds like fear disguised in concern? I'm just worried about you. Or, are you sure this is a good idea? Can be a mask for, don't leave me behind. A loyal friend adjusts and grows. With you, they celebrate your boldness. But a fake friend wants you to stay where it's comfortable for them. They don't openly oppose you, but subtly try to pull your reins tight. This moment is critical. Don't argue or try to convince them otherwise. Just observe and listen. The more they talk, the more they show whether they're rooting for you, or rooting for their own comfort. The third test is possibly the hardest one. Not a manipulation, not punishment, but simply stepping back, going quiet, creating space. Who reaches out? Who disappears? Mavelli said, the absence of presence reveals the presence of absence. Think about it. Some people only show up when you're visible, when you're posting, doing well, or entertaining. Those aren't supporters, they're spectators. Real loyalty is quiet and looks different. It notices when you pull away and reaches out privately, with genuine concern. They don't ask, why aren't you responding? They instead say, hey, you've been quiet, everything okay? This silence is painful because it shatters the illusion of equal care. But illusions are dangerous. Mavelli knew the biggest threat wasn't an enemy outside, it was betrayal, quiet and hidden, waiting inside your own circle. That's why you have to treat your life like a kingdom. Not everyone who smiles at the gates deserves to enter, no matter how polite or charming they seem. The fourth test means showing a little weakness. Let people see you unsure, struggling, or needing help, but don't dramatize it. Just be real. Watch carefully what happens. Some folks only like your strength. They admire the image of power or success, not the real person. So when your strength falters, they recoil, not because they care, but because it makes them uncomfortable. They were using your power as a ladder, and when that ladder breaks, they just find another one. Mavelli said, the one who stays when the palace shakes is the one worthy of standing beside you when it's rebuilt. The final test, and maybe the coldest one, is about betrayal. Give someone a subtle chance to benefit by turning against you something real, but not something extreme. Then watch how they respond. Do they warn you first? Do they hide it? Do they justify it afterward? Or do they come to you with honesty before making a move? This is more than just loyalty. It's about values, because your values don't liven when words do. Now, let's be real, most people will fail at least one of these tests. Why? Because they're not wired for true loyalty. They're built for convenience, for transactions, for the appearance of support when it benefits them. And that's exactly why Mavali didn't care about appearances. What mattered to him were results, clarity on who's truly loyal and who's just playing a part. When you run these tests, you might lose people. That's a fact. But what you gain is far more valuable. Peace, silence, and loyalty that has been proven through fire, not declared in comfort. You don't need a crowd. You don't need to be surrounded by dozens of friends. Sometimes, you only need a few, 2, 3, sometimes even just one, who stay with you when there's no reward, no audience, no spotlight. Because and this is huge, you won't know who those people are until you put them to the test. For most, life feels like they're surrounded by friends. People smile, nod when you talk, laugh at your wins, but disappear the moment things get rough. They call this friendship. They call it loyalty. But Mavali, he called it camouflage. A soft, sweet theater of affection hiding a battlefield of quiet self-interest. Unless you're ready to step back, pull away, and put people through these tests, you'll keep building your life on sand. You'll keep trusting loyalty that only existed in your head. And worst of all, you'll expose your plans and vulnerabilities to people just waiting for their opportunity. Testing isn't cruelty, it's responsibility. It's not about creating betrayal, it's about revealing where betrayal already existed, just beneath the surface. Now, when you start testing, be prepared for pushback. People will try to guilt you. They'll accuse you of changing, of being cold, of not trusting anymore. And they might be right. You don't trust in it until they've earned it. Not until they've been through what Mavali calls the necessary trials of allegiance. Trust isn't candy you hand out to everyone. It's a prize, fought for quietly with consistency. And here's where it gets unsettling. As you start testing, the people you thought were solid, their faces begin to melt. Conversations change tone. People start asking questions about your intentions. Why? Because your awareness threatens those who benefit from your ignorance. They feel the shift, your precision, your silence, your withdrawal. If they're guilty, they won't confess. Instead, they'll subtly undermine you. Not with open hostility, but with quiet moves meant to destabilize. That's how you know your test worked. Fake friends aren't always snakes. Sometimes, they're just soft. They crumble when pressure comes. They shift with the wind. They want you to stay a version of yourself that works for them. Convenient, predictable. But when you grow, when you change or harden your position, they retreat. Mavali once said, "The weak will always mistake strength for cruelty." And that's where a lot of people fail. They pass the test. They see the truth, but stay anyway out of nostalgia, fear, or that crippling question, but what if I'm wrong? You're not wrong. When your gut tightens around someone, when your energy drains after spending time with them, when your wins feel like things you have to hide, that's your answer. You're just delaying facing it. Mavel. I wasn't interested in comfort. He was interested in control. And control demands clarity. You cannot afford to guess where someone stands. Not if you're building something. Not if you're climbing. Not if your words carry influence. Your time has value. And your silence holds power. You must know who is truly beside you. Not imagine it. Not hope for it. Not assume it. Here's the paradox. Once you start living like this, strategically, observantly, ruthlessly, the right people start revealing themselves too. It's not all betrayal and loss. The silence also exposes the loyal just as sharply. When you pull away and someone steps forward, not for themselves, not for gain, but for you, that's real. That's not performance. That's alignment. And it's rare. When it shows up, guard it like gold. Because slowly, you realize something clear. One loyal person is worth more than 100 convenient ones. And here's the kicker. Loyalty isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't parade itself around asking for attention. True loyalty is calm, consistent, built on presence, not performance. When someone's truly on your side, you feel it, not just when you're winning, but when you're quiet, uncertain, or distant. They don't disappear, they stay. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not always loudly, but they stay. That's the beauty of Mavali's tests. They don't need drama, no fights, no shouting, Just patterns of silence, withdrawal, opportunity, followed by sharp observation. Let people reveal themselves. Let their loyalty, or lack of it, be louder than their words. Most people are terrified of this. They don't want to know the truth. They'd rather live in illusion than be alone. But every day you keep a disloyal person close, you're not protecting them, you're betraying yourself. Think of loyalty as a fortress. Every false friend inside that fortress is a crack in the foundation. You don't patch cracks with paint. You tear out what's weak. You rebuild it with stone. So, start quietly. Start precisely. Pull away. Hold space. Create friction, not to break relationships, but to test what really holds them together. The right ones will hold fast. The wrong ones, they'll fall land when they do. Don't reach for them. Don't explain. Don't apologize. Just let them go. That silence you leave behind, that's your crown. Wear it. Move forward. At first, losing the wrong people hurts. It feels hollow, like something's missing. But that absence, it's not emptiness, it's clarity. Space opening up for what's real, what actually strengthens you. Machiavelli said power doesn't grow in crowded rooms. It grows in clean ones. Every false friend removed isn't a loss. It's a purification. You're not getting rid of support. You're removing distortion. Because when loyalty is fake, their presence isn't neutral, it's corrosive. Every word they speak blurs your vision. Every nod dulls your edge. Every fake smile makes you hesitate. And hesitation, in war, in business, in life, hesitation is death. Who truly stands with you and who doesn't? When you reach this point, something shifts inside you. You begin to see life differently. And more importantly, you begin to move differently. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't deserve it. You stop looking over your shoulder, because now, you have eyes behind you, allies who guard your back, not just cheer your victories. These few people, those rare, silent, sharp ones, are your real strength. They don't demand attention or seek praise. They simply want access, and when you give it, they use it wisely, to fortify you, not weaken you. This is where your game changes. You move less but watch more. Every conversation becomes data. Every silence a test. Every reaction a signal. And every betrayal a clean cut you make once, with no hesitation, no ceremony, no emotional exit. Just space, absence, and detachment. Because those who fail your tests were never meant to stay. And those who passed there, the ones who never leave. The more precise you get with this, the quieter your world becomes, not empty or lonely, but clean, fortified, and sharp. You stop confusing noise for loyalty. You stop mistaking presence for support. You start craving stillness, because in stillness there's no performance. No need to put on armor in your own home. No need to read between every sentence, looking for hidden meanings or ulterior motives. The people who remain, they already speak your language, not your words, but your values. Machiavelli understood that power always invites deception. Those who orbit influence will wear masks, always. And the wise ruler, they never grow soft. Not in judgment, not in memory, not in the boundaries they draw. You can forgive if it suits your position, but you never forget, because forgetting is how betrayal returns with a cleaner face. Some betrayals scream, obvious and loud, but most, they whisper. They creep in slowly, a missed word, a silent hesitation, a door closed when it should have stayed open. If you're not listening, really listening, you'll miss it. That's why the loyalty test isn't a one-time thing, it's a lifestyle. You stop trusting momentum or vibes. You start trusting behavior. You stop being impressed by admiration, and start looking for endurance. You stop asking what people say they feel about you, and start watching what they do when you're not useful to them. Because real loyalty isn't about proof. When you're strong, it's revealed. When you're vulnerable, when you have nothing to offer, your image is shaken, your direction unstable. That's when the masks come off. Opportunists vanish, and the real ones reveal themselves, not with grand gestures, but by staying. And the moment you see someone fail one of these loyalty tests, even in the smallest way, don't second-guess it, don't soften it with empathy, don't justify it with history. You saw the crack, believe it, cut, before it deepens. Machiavelli knew that the most brutal betrayals come from the ones you've given too many chances. This is where most people falter, hesitating, hoping the disloyal will change, hoping this time will be different, hoping it wasn't intentional. But listen carefully. Loyalty isn't an accident. No one is loyal by mistake. If they were disloyal under pressure, they will be again. It only takes the right opportunity. That's why the cut must be clean. No explanations, no dramatic final talks, no warnings. If someone fails the test, they've already left you in spirit. You're just making it official. Power is silent. Precision is silent. The only sound allowed in these moments is the echo of a door closing. And when they're gone, don't mourn. You reorganize. You recalibrate. You move forward, lighter, sharper, cleaner. This isn't paranoia. Its sovereignty is a work of building your empire. Whether it's your mind, your business, your inner world, you create something that false support can't shake. Because every time you run the test and someone fails, you gain something more valuable than their illusion. Certainty. Certainty that you're surrounded by people who have passed through fire. Certainty that your silence carries power. Certainty that your path is no longer crowded by the unnecessary. That certainty, it becomes your advantage, your edge. While others waste time doubting motives, questioning intentions, managing drama, you move, you act, you execute, surrounded only by the proven. Mavel. I didn't say, trust no one. He said trust wisely, selectively, strategically. Trusts what's been tested not once, but over time, and when that trust holds, reward it not with praise, but with more access, with loyalty returned, because betrayal is common, but true allegiance, that's rare. And when you find it, you keep it close, like a weapon forged for your defense. Once you've tested everyone around you, and the dust settles, what you're left with isn't just a tightened circle, it's a throne, a psychological position from which you operate with clarity. No more questions, no more guessing. You know who's real, you know who failed, and most importantly, you know who truly stands beside you, who truly stands with you, not just in moments of glory, but when everything else falls away. This is where the real power lies, not just in knowing who's loyal, but in becoming the sort of person who inspires loyalty, because the loyalty test isn't just for others. Once you start applying it to people around you, you'll find yourself starting to test yourself. Ask yourself, am I loyal in silence? Do I stand by those who trust me even when it's inconvenient? Or do I disappear or fade away when it gets tough? This self-reflection is painful but essential. True power isn't about demanding loyalty, it's about embodying it. You become the person others can trust, not just when everyone is watching, but especially when no one is. That's how you build empires that last. Empires, whether in business, in life, or within your own mind, that can't be shaken by weak ties or false support. Machiavelli believed a true ruler must be feared and respected, but above all, they must be trusted by the few who matter. That trust comes from one thing: consistency. Consistency in showing up, in discipline, in never flinching when disloyalty shows up, even if it's within yourself. Because if you demand loyalty from others, you must give it fiercely in return. Not to everyone, but to the few who truly earn it. Those are the people whose names you protect in silence, whose secrets you guard like weapons, those who you stand with not only when it's easy but especially when it costs you something. That's the transformation Machiavelli hinted at, from a ruler of others to a ruler of self. But don't mistake offering loyalty for tolerating weakness. Loyalty does not mean defending someone who has failed your tests. It means this: when you find that rare Aletha, one who passes every test, the spotlight test, the withdrawal test, the uncertainty test, the silence test, the vulnerability, exposure, the temptation to betray, that person becomes part of your core, not just your circle, your core. And that core is sacred. Once you have that core, everything changes. Your focus sharpens. Your execution tightens. You stop explaining yourself. You stop constantly watching your back, because now you have someone watching it for you. Someone who doesn't just clap for your wins, but guards your space so you can win uninterrupted. Someone who doesn't silently compete while pretending to cheer. Someone who doesn't see your failure as an opportunity to rise above you. This is rare. Most people will never experience this, because most are terrified to test those around them. They fear being alone. They fear what they might discover. But that fear, that's what keeps them weak. Surrounded but unsupported. Cheered for but unprotected. Liked but never respected. And Machiavelli would remind you, respect always outweighs affection in the game of power. So when you start cutting, isolating, refining, you're not becoming cold, you're becoming precise. Precision isn't cruelty, it's survival. And those who can't understand This were never built to rule. They were made to follow, to depend, to cling. But that's not who you are. You're here to lead. To dominate, to see the battlefield before the enemy even steps forward. You do that by testing every potential threat before it strikes. Not just the loud ones, not just the obvious ones, but the quiet ones, the ones who smile a little too much, the ones who agree just a little bit too easily, the ones who are always around but never show real depth. Test them, watch them, and when they fail, don't explain, don't fix, just cut. There's strange power in knowing the few who remain have been forged by fire, not chosen out of sentiment, not picked randomly, chosen because they stood when others folded, because they earned their place not with words, but with proof. Those people, the rare, silent, sharp ones, they are your true strength. They don't need attention, they don't need praise. All they need is access, and when you give it, they use it to fortify you, not weaken you. That's what makes them dangerous. That's what makes them invaluable. So you move differently now. You speak less, you watch more. Every conversation becomes data, every silence a test, every reaction a signal, and every betrayal a clean cut you make once. Clean, without hesitation, no ceremonies, no emotional goodbyes. Just space. Absence. Detachment. Because those who failed the test were never meant to stay, and those who pass, they never leave. The more precise you get, the quieter your world becomes. Not empty, not lonely. Clean. Fortified. You stop mistaking noise for loyalty. You stop confusing presence for support. You start to crave stillness, because in stillness, there's no performance. No need to wear armor in your own home. No need to translate every sentence. The ones who remain already speak your language, not your words, your values. Machiavelli knew that power invites deception. Those who orbit influence always wear masks. And so the wise ruler never grows soft. Not in judgment, not in memory, not in the boundaries set. You can forgive if it serves your position, but you don't forget. Because forgetting, that's how betrayal sneaks back in, wearing a cleaner face. Some betrayals are loud, dramatic, but most quiet, slow, like a missed word, a hesitation, a door closed when it should have stayed. Opened. The betrayal whispers, and unless you're truly listening, you'll miss it. That's why the loyalty test isn't a one-time thing, it's a lifestyle. You stop trusting momentum, you start trusting behavior, you stop admiring words, you look for endurance, you stop asking what someone says they feel about you, and start watching what they do when you're no longer useful. Because real loyalty isn't proven when you're strong, it's revealed when you're vulnerable, when you have nothing to offer, when your image shakes. Your direction is unstable. That's when the masks come off, when opportunists disappear, when real ones show up. Not with grand gestures, but by staying. Who truly stands with you through everything. At this stage, you stop wasting time guessing or hoping. You know exactly where everyone stands. No illusions, no compromises. You've created boundaries that protect your energy, your time, and your legacy. Because every second you spend doubting loyalty or hiding from betrayal is time lost, time stolen from your rise. And in this space, this clearer, quieter space, you become unstoppable. The power isn't in numbers. It's not about having an army of followers or friends. Real power flows from having a few who are fiercely loyal, so deeply that their allegiance is forged in fire, not declared in comfort. The loyalty test isn't just about revealing the disloyal. It's about protecting what matters. It's about building a fortress around your life, your goals, your vision. And in that fortress, every false friend is a crack waiting to break you down. That's why you don't cover cracks with paint, excuses. You cut them out. You cut off distractions, weaknesses, and false loyalties. You don't explain why. You don't beg for understanding. You just move on. Because strength is quiet. Strength is deliberate. It's knowing who to keep close, who to let go, and when. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more you test, the more people show their true selves, and the more your world cleans itself. You don't lose people, you gain clarity and space for those who truly belong. Once you have that, everything sharpens. The focus, the execution, the relationships. You no longer chase loyalty, you recognize it, you nurture it, you protect it like the precious weapon it is. Machiavelli's timeless lesson was brutal but true. Don't waste your life surrounded by shadows and illusions. Test, cut, choose, and build your empire not on hope, but on solid ground. Because at the end of the day, what you really want isn't crowds or applause. You want a throne, a place of undeniable power and clarity where you know exactly who stands with you, who has your back, and who would never betray your trust. This is how leaders rise. This is how empires are forged, through fire, through trials, through loyalty tested and earned. So start today. Create your tests. Observe, notice the patterns that appear when the spotlight dims. Listen to the silence. Watch who stays when you're down. Look closely at those who hesitate to support your growth. And, above all, never settle for anything less than loyalty that's built to last. Because your life, your time, your legacy, they deserve nothing less.